Hi everybody, it's Ruth with Ruth's Stamping Corner. I'm so excited to share with you this little box. This is made with some brand new products coming in November. We have an online exclusive launch in November, and we're going to have some brand new products. And so I'm going to use the brand new stamp set made with those products, with some of the products coming in November. So let me tell you real quick first the products that we're using, and then I'll show you the box. So this is the Big Little Things stamp set. It is so cute. So I was immediately drawn to these little critters. I absolutely love them. Now you're going to look at this and go, wait a minute, that doesn't look like a normal stamp set. You're right. We are going to have some new packaging coming in November. So I'm going to show you this packaging. I'm going to grab another stamp set just to show you the difference. So this is how our stamps currently come. They come in the big CD case. You can see the size difference a little bit here. Let me move my camera up just a little bit so we can get a better picture here. So you can see the size difference here. These are going to be a little bit taller. They're about the same width. I would say they're maybe a tiny bit wider than the stamp case, but pretty close. But because we are phasing out the red rubber, the photopolymers have a smaller profile, so they're able to store them in envelopes like this. So they're similar to die envelopes, and the dies will come in envelopes exactly like this too. So we're changing our packaging up a little bit. So you're going to pull your stamp set out just like this, and you're going to have your stamp set inside. Now I'm going to show you a little tip of something that I did. It doesn't come this way, but I did this. You're going to have all the images printed on the inside, but unlike our stamp sets, our stamp sets have the images printed on the inside of the case here. And that's, everything's printed backwards so that you can line everything up when you're putting stuff away, which I find super, super helpful. Now, all the images are on the front of the packaging here, but you'll see that the actual sheet where the stamps are, it's not the same size, so it's harder to kind of puzzle things back together, and that's always my fault, my problem. See, I take so many stamps off of it, and then when I have to put them all back, I'm like, well, where do they go? I don't understand where they go. So it takes me a lot longer to put stuff back because I don't have that guide. So what I did was I just peeled off the thin piece of plastic, and I left all the stamps on the thicker plastic. I inked those up, and I actually stamped them on a piece of vellum. So this is a piece of vellum, and you guys, we're going to have vellum come back in our November online exclusives. I cannot wait. So this is stamped on a piece of vellum and just stamped exactly like this. So I inked it up real carefully, and then I just kind of held it from the sides, and I just pushed it down onto a piece of vellum, or you can push the vellum onto the top of the stamps, however you want to do that. But with the vellum, I can flip it over, and I just have it taped down with some Scotch tape, and that way my images are all backwards, just like I'm used to. And so when I go back to put all my stamps away, I can just lay this right over exactly where it needs to be, and I can just replace all my images exactly where they need to be. The images are backwards, just like on our stamp cases. So this is really going to help me out. So just print it on some vellum and then flip it over. So there you go. There's my quick tip for storage with our new stamp sets. I have put in a suggestion, and I know other demonstrators have too, to please print the images on the inside of our sheets. So maybe they'll do that someday and we won't have to do that. But until then, I'll keep doing it on the vellum because I know that really helps me out. All right, so we're going to use that Big Little Thing stamp set to make this adorable little box. So let me show you what's inside and the way it opens, because I actually really love the way it opens. I was inspired to make a box similar to this I saw a box by Angie from Stampin With Amore, and she made a box like this where you just pull out the whole liner part. This whole thing comes out just like that. And I just have a couple of glue dots and holding on to these little cupcake minis. Aren't they cute? So these are much smaller than your regular Hostess cupcakes. These are Hostess cupcake minis. They're very adorable. Taste just like the larger version. I found those at Walmart, at my local Walmart. And then this just slides right back in. You can close it up. So it looks like a normal box, but when you pull it out, you just open up those little flaps and you just pull it right out. It's so cute. I just thought that was so fun. It's so unique. It's so ingenious. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna design a box just like that because it's so cute. So thanks to Angie, and I will actually leave a video or a link to her video in the video description if you want to check hers out as well. Okay, but let's go ahead and start with our box. I'm using Early Espresso. I'm gonna grab my Simply Scored. So pull that out. And let's start with the actual box. You're going to need a piece that is 6.5 by 7.5. So let's start on the 6.5 inch side. We're going to score it at 3/4 and at 5 1/4. Okay. Now I'm not going to what I'm trying to say is when you're making this, make sure to refer to the measurements that are typed in the video description. Sometimes I'm looking at a measurement and I'm reading it off incorrectly. So just make sure that you are checking out the typed measurements in the video description. Those are always correct. All right, on the 7.5 inch side, we're going to score it at 1/2 inch, 1 3/4, 4, and 5 1/4. All right, and that's it for our actual box. Okay, we'll come back to this in just a minute, but let's score our insert piece. So that is the piece, that's this little piece that's gonna pull right out, just like this. Whoop. That's that piece. So let's score that one. You're going to need a piece that is, let me look at my notes, 6 1/4 by 2 1/4. We're only scoring on the 6 1/4 inch side. We're gonna score it at 1/2 inch and 1 3/4. And that's it. Okay. Now again, remember, if you want to make this box, please check the typed measurements in the video description, or you can go back to my blog, which is also linked in the video description for all those measurements. All right, let's go to our box. We're going to fold on all the score lines. Give it a really good burnish with your bone folder. If you're not using a bone folder when you're making boxes, you are missing out. Boxes are so much better with a bone folder. You get those nice, crisp folds. It makes it look very professional. It really steps it up. So if you're not using a bone folder, make sure to put one on your next order. Okay, so let's, we don't have to do any trimming with our little insert piece. I'm going to grab a corner rounder and we're going to round some corners in a minute, but for that now we're just going to put that away. We just need to fold that. So put that off to the side. All right, now for our box, you have a piece that is 3/4 inch on top, and then you have a piece that is, I think, 1 1/4 inch on the bottom. I think that's 1 1/4 inches. Yes, 1 1/4 inches on the bottom. So the bigger side is going to be our bottom. So we're going to start by trimming out that side. So there's a 1/2 inch tab here. So I'm going to cut at an angle. This is our square piece. So I'm going to cut my square at an angle. The 1/2 inch tab, I'm going to cut that at a small angle too. So I'm just going to cut off that little rectangle on the bottom. I'm going to cut this at an angle. And then on this rectangle piece, I'm just going to cut straight up. Straight up on the rectangle pieces, notch in on the squares. So on this one, we're going to go straight up on the rectangle, notch in on the squares. And straight up on the rectangle. So you're just going to do that on the bottom. So that is easy peasy. All right, now we're going to flip it over. We're going to work on the side with the 3/4 inch tab. Now, because we're adding in what's basically going to be the lid of our box. Now this doesn't, there we go. Because we're adding in, this is going to be the lid and the flap. The only pieces that we need to keep are these smaller flaps here. So we're going to do quite a bit of trimming on the top part of our box. Put that back in. So the only pieces that we're keeping are going to be these small little rectangles here. So I'm going to cut straight down those because we're going to use our corner rounder. So let me just cut straight on this 1/2 inch tab. I'm going to notch in just a little bit. That's going to be our glue tab. So we're going to go straight down this tab. Straight down this tab. So just cut down straight down the score lines on all of them, and then we'll just trim away what we don't need. All right, we're going to trim away this long piece here. If you want to use a paper trimmer, you can, or grab longer scissors. You can absolutely do that too. All right, now the pieces that we want to keep, these little flaps, I'm just going to fold those down, and then I'm just going to cut off this piece right here. Just like that. Okay. All right, I'm going to leave this just like this to check it out because I got to grab my corner rounder. I forgot to grab that before I started the video. So if if you need to take a screenshot or if you want to see how things are trimmed, now's your chance. You got a couple seconds while I grab my corner rounder. Okay, I am back. I hope you grabbed that screenshot. All right, we're gonna corner round the four corners here. So I'm gonna fold that in so I have a nice flush edge. And I'm just using my regular corner rounder. Whatever corner rounder you have, you can use. Stampin' Up! Doesn't currently sell a corner rounder, so whatever you have, feel free to use that. Just gonna go through and give all of that a nice little corner round. And while we have it out, we're going to corner round this little tab here. So we have our little 1/2" tab. That's gonna be the tab that folds into our box. We're gonna corner around that as well. All right, so we have what's basically our box. Let's put a little bit of DSP. Typically, I like to do my DSP after I assemble the box, but we're gonna do it before. Now, this is gonna be the back of the box. This is gonna fold to the back just like this. So I'm only putting DSP on the 2 sides and the front here. If you wanna put another piece of DSP on the back, you can. I didn't do that. I don't think it needed it, but you can if you want. So I'm going to grab my Stampin' Seal. All right. I am using the Autumn, what is it called? I'm going to grab it in just a minute. Let me adhere this piece down. This DSP, this big piece, is 2 1/8 by 4 3/8. And let me grab that DSP. It's right here. This is the Autumn Toil. I'm not sure how to say that, but that's what it is. It is super fun. It is just so perfect for fall. I thought it went perfect with our little chocolate cupcakes, that little fox pattern, so cute. So if you're doing a lot of crafting for fall, this is a good one. It's also good masculine patterns as well. All right, now for our 2 little side panels, these are 1 1/8 by 4 3/8. And again, go ahead and check the typed measurements in the video description for complete accurate measurements. All right, and our other one. All right, now I do have a piece of DSP here, which when I was cutting out my supplies, I didn't realize it's not on my supply list. So I'm gonna make sure that I write that on my supply list, so it will be listed in the video description. Actually, let's go ahead and trim it real quick. So this is 1 1/8 by 2 1/8. Yeah, 1 1/8 by 2 1/8. Let me make a note real quick on my 1 1/8 by 2 1/8. There's always got to be something, guys, right? So let me just grab my paper trimmer real quick, and we're just going to find a pattern. Find this little scrap, and I'm just going to grab my little guillotine trimmer here. 2 1/8 by 1 1/8. All right, all those measurements will be in the video description. Again, for your ease, you can just check those out. All right, so that one just goes right here on the top. Perfect. All right, now before we assemble our whole box, I do want to add a little finger notch here. So you can see that. I'm going to use my 1 3/4 inch circle punch. Now, if you want to mark center, if you want to get a ruler out and actually mark center, you can do that. I am just going to eyeball it. And we're really not going in very far. I just wanted a little notch. So I'm just going to kind of center it. I'm looking at my score lines here, and I'm trying to center them on the punch because I can't see my score lines once it's in there. So I'm just making sure that they're kind of centered on the punch. And I am not punching out a lot. You see just a little sliver. All we're doing is just making a little finger notch. Okay, so that is it. Okay, let's assemble this thing now. And I'm going to use liquid glue because my Stampin' Seal is empty. So we're just going to use liquid glue here. Put some liquid glue on that 1/2 inch tab. I'm going to fold this over this side, and then I'll fold this over. It should lay nice and flat. Once you get that adhered, I always like to flip it the other way as well, just to make sure everything's laying nice and flat in both directions, because that's going to ensure that you have a nice square box if it's all laying nice and flat. Okay, so this is our front. So I'm going to fold this tab in last. I'm going to fold the bottom tab in first. I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on our little tabs. These will get sandwiched in between our front and our back tab, and you'll never see them, and you'll have a nice clean finish on the inside, so you don't have to worry about ever getting anything caught on there. Perfect, right? All right, well, that's upside down. We'll just grab our bone folder, give that a nice press. All right, that is super cute. Now, if your measurements were a little bit off, what you want is that you want this to slide in and out easily, which it does. If you had cut this a little bit wider, or maybe your measurements, your score lines were just a little bit off, just go ahead and like trim just a hair off of this until it slides in and out easily. Okay, but we're there, so we don't need to worry about that. So I'm gonna grab my glue dots, and I'm just gonna take a couple because you want them to be able to take the treat off, so you don't wanna adhere this thing down forever. So I'm just gonna take a couple little glue dots. Glue dots are nice for things like this. You can pull stuff off if you need to. So I'm just gonna grab one of my little mini cupcakes and just put that on here, line that up. Just kind of give it a little press so those glue dots adhere. And then we'll just slide this into our box. Just like this. Our little tabs will go in. And then our front flap will go in. Just like, I need to trim, there we go. Okay, perfect, there we go. Cute, right? It's an adorable little box. All right, let's do our stamping. This video is gonna be a little bit longer than I had intended, but that's okay. We're gonna do our stamping. All right, I have already die cut 3 squares. This is the second smallest square from our Stylish Shapes dies, and we're gonna stamp 3 different animals on each of those. And then I have a piece of, just a scrap piece that we're gonna stamp and trim out our greetings. So there's that. I'm gonna grab a piece of scrap paper and we're going to do some stamping. So let's start with, I'm gonna start with the elephant. That is in Darling Duckling ink. Now the whole thing is obviously not gonna fit on here. So I'm just, you know, we're just getting like the head of it. I'm filling up as much as the square as I can with as much as the animal as I can. And I love the way these stamp. These are a disINKtive stamp, so you're gonna get lots of great shading with just one ink pad. Isn't that great? So you get like dark lines, light lines, beautiful shading. All right, so that's Darling Duckling. One of my favorites, actually. All right, for the hippo, let's do Timid Tiger. This is another in color, very cute. So this one we're actually gonna ink up more of him. He's gonna mostly fit on this little tag here. Oh, so cute, isn't he adorable? And you get all that gorgeous shading. All right, that was Timid Tiger. And for our little panda, we're gonna use Pretty in Pink. I thought this was just a super fun color combination with that early espresso. So he's gonna get inked up and adorable, right? All those little animals, super cute. All right, so that's Pretty in Pink we're done with. And early espresso for our greetings. So I'm just gonna stamp these along the bottom, and then we'll just trim them out. We're just gonna trim to the height and the width of the words. We don't want them to take up too much. Oh, let's try that one again. Let's see if we can do this corner over here. Perfect. Okay. All right, so let's grab our scissors. Where did I put my scissors? Here they are. You can use a paper trimmer if you want. The greetings are kind of small though, so I don't mind doing it with my scissors. And I do just want to kind of straighten up the bottom here because I stamped that a little crooked. Okay, so there's that one. This one I stamped pretty straight along the bottom, so just doing the sides and the top. Again, you can use your paper trimmer if you want. Okay, that's it. We have all our little pieces. We're ready to go now. So let's grab some dimensionals. These are all going to get on with dimensionals. So I'm just going to use a couple on each one. Once you get the box put together, these go very quickly. I mean, the stamping is very quickly. If you have the little squares die cut, you could just die cut a bunch of these in advance. Do some quick stamping. And I didn't use the manatee in the stamp set. There's a little manatee too. You could also do that one. Maybe in blue, that would be very cute. Maybe like a summer splash or coastal cabana. That'd be very cute. So I only put dimensionals just kind of down the middle so that I could kind of tuck as needed. And I'm not pushing these down very hard because if I need to adjust them, I want to be able to go back and adjust, but I think that looks pretty good. I want to leave room on the side here and the side here for my greeting. All right, perfect. So I'm going to get a dimensional for the back of this one. It's just going to fit perfectly on that one. If you need to trim it, you can. We'll go on there. Huge thanks. And then this one's also going to go on with the dimensional, but before we put that on, I want to put some ribbon on. So this is the Darling Duckling. I think it's like faux linen. I'm not going to tie a bow because that's going to get a little bulky. So I'm just going to kind of weave it back and forth to make it look like I tied a bow. And we're going to just put this on with some glue dots. We'll just, I'm going to stick this down with a glue dot here. And then I'm going to we're going to kind of reweave it. I'm going to just kind of put each layer on with a glue dot. And that will hold it all nice and together. And that will look like a bow, but a bow would be very bulky. The knot would be very bulky with this ribbon. And so we just have our faux bow, and nobody's ever going to notice because once we put this on, it's going to look like a real bow. So it totally works. Now I'm going to grab a little bit of the edge piece here, and I'm just going to kind of put that right across. This greeting is a little bit taller, so we have a little bit more room to work with, so we can do that edge piece, and that's just going to help secure that ribbon down. And then we can stick on this greeting, and it's going to give that faux bow look. So it looks like we tied a bow, but we didn't. It's still nice and flat. All right, and finishing touches, I have, well, what I thought were the Darling Duckling little gems, but these are actually the peach pie ones. These are the in color pearls. These are peach pie, but they go very well with the Timid Tiger, so they work too. Either one. All right, guys, that is it. I hope you love this sweet little treat. This will be great for teacher favors, whatever you want to do. This one, now it doesn't want to slide out. What did I do now? It doesn't want to slide out. There it goes. It got stuck on the bottom. There we go. All right, so I hope you guys love this little treat. I just love the way this slides in and out. Super cute. Let me know what you think. Don't forget, the Big Little Things stamp set will be coming out in the November online exclusives. If you'd like to join my team today, we do have an amazing starter kit deal. You can actually put new online exclusive pre-order products in your starter kit. So if you want more information about that, I'll leave a link in the video description for joining. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave them in the comments. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.